June 1st, 1660 at 9 in the morning. Mary Dyer once again departed the jail and was escorted to the gallows. Once she was on the ladder under the elm tree, she was given the opportunity to save her life. Her response was, "Nay, I cannot, for in obedience to the will of the Lord God I came, and in his will I abide faithful to the death." The military commander, Captain John Webb, recited the charges against her and said she was guilty of her own blood. Dyer's response was, "Nay, I came to keep blood guiltiness from you, desiring you to repeal the unrighteous and unjust law of banishment upon pain of death made against the innocent servants of the Lord. Therefore my blood will be required at your hands who willfully do it. But for those that do,
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream? Latino Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
against the innocent servants of the Lord, therefore my blood will be required at your hands who willfully do it. But for those that do is in the simplicity of their hearts, I do desire the Lord to forgive them. I came to do the will of my Father, and in obedience to his will, I stand even to the death. This is Mary Dyer. This is the Pilgrims killing her for being a Quaker. Her former pastor, John Wilson, urged her to repent and to not be so deluded and carried away by the deceit of the devil. To this she answered, "Nay, man, I am not now to repent." Asked if she would have had the elders pray for her, she replied, I know never an elder here." Another short exchange. Then in the words of her biographer, she was swung off and the crown of martyrdom descended upon her head. Speaking of totalitarian regimes, in North Korea, marijuana is legal. Marijuana is legal in North Korea. Just throwing that out there. Another comparison between Mystic River Massacre and that Egyptian terrorist attack. The scale of the Mystic Massacre was just so much larger. I mean, these militants attacked a few people at a mosque, but they weren't there to kill everybody and anybody, all the Sufis. That's what the Pequot War was about. It wasn't just killing the Pequot or killing the military, stopping the military threat. It was eliminating every single one. It was killing their children so they don't ever reproduce. And then it was saying, in the treaty, don't you ever say the word Pequot again. You're not to call yourselves Pequot. Pequot, we're going to change the name of the Pequot River to the Thames. Pequot. Major complaint about Hamas is that they want to wipe Israel off the map. Why are we going to deal with Hamas, who wants to wipe Israel off the map? They want to wipe the Pequot off the map. That was the point of the Pilgrims. Nits make lice, kill them all. Genocide was the goal. So the scale of the Mystic Massacre was a lot larger. It wasn't just here and there and a small, tiny, the point of the terrorist attack in the Sinai province was to shock the conscience. So it was psychological was probably the biggest point. But psychological was only secondary to the point of the colonists. The main point was genocide, to wipe them off the map. Calvinism, they're all a bunch of Calvinists. Some of them were Puritans, some of them were separatists. All of them suck John Calvin's dick. Of course, John Calvin is the Calvin and Hobbes, and he's the Calvin and Coolidge. So John Calvin, the biggest thing about Calvinism to understand is that the sovereignty of God is the most important thing. Sovereignty of God, the Alpha and the Omega, the truly begotten but not made, and that all souls are predestined. There's no free will. God chooses the elect before you were even born, so it doesn't even really matter what the fuck you do. Calvinism says that you were already going to go to heaven before you decided to believe in Jesus, or you're already, it was predestined. It was already all worked out. So God is the absolute power, all power unto God, the omnipotent, omnipresent, omni-universal healthcare and education. I don't know. Everywhere. And he's truly begotten, not made. I don't understand. It's in truly begotten, not made. I say it so quick, I never thought about it, but it's like, what point are they trying to make there? So, was God begotten or was he made? No, you need to tell me. Is he made or is he begotten? Which is it? I need to know these answers right now. He's either made or he's begotten, and I'm not going to leave. Did you make these delicious, wonderful brownies? Did you make them? No, I did not. I merely begot them into existence. What? So you made the brownies? Yeah, I made them by begotten them into existence. So no, I didn't make them. I begot them. Get that shit straight. This distinction is important. Oh, I begot those damn brownies. I begot them. I begot them. Oh, yeah? Why don't you just go ahead and get the hell on out of here? So the elect is unconditional. All souls are predestined. There is no free will. Who gives a shit? God already declared you and you are going to heaven, and he says you're going to hell. So, and then this is a big thing about Anne Hutchinson. She was like, wait a second. You believe in the sanctity of works? I believe in the sanctity of grace. Works-based versus grace. All I have to do is have God in my heart. It doesn't matter what the hell I do here on this planet. As long as I got God in my heart. Doesn't matter how many people I massacre in their sleep. I'm going to go to heaven. So John Stone, get there about what? 1611. The English get there about what? 1630s. 1611, 1630s. And then you got the Pequot, and they got there 12,000 BC. So they've been there for a while. So Wangunk, the Wogunks, the Wangunks, the Wayne Gunks. So where are we at in this story? John Stone and Tatabim, they got killed 1634. So that's ancient history. We're at 1637, right? We've already fast forward past all that. And Sassacus is the chief of the Pequot. Uncas is the Mohegans, and he's just stirring lots of shit up. Nair gas at Miantanamo. So really, Pequot's a cool kid on the block, and everybody just wants to hate the Pequot. Then you're going to have the murder of John Oldham, July 20th, 1636. They were killed by the Manassas Indians on Block Island. John Endicott. Dyers ain't going to get killed by the Pilgrims for quite some time. The Quakers, they don't get it as bad as the Pequot get it, but they get it in the 1660s. We're in the 1630s right now. So to recap where we're at in the story, 1634, John Stone is killed by the Western Neantics and not the Pequot. Tatabim is killed by the Dutch West India Company. Tatabim is the chief of the Pequot, 1634. 2 years later, John July 20th, 1636, him and his crew were murdered in his boat off of Block Island. The English settlers vowed to retaliate against the Native Americans, and on August 25th, Massachusetts raised a military force under the command of John Endicott. This 90-men battalion attacked the Neantic village on Block Island. Is it the Neantics now? So we're attacking the Manassas, we're attacking the Neantics. It was the Narragansett who did it. The Manassas are a part of the Narragansett. I think the Neantic might be a part of the Narragansett too. 14 people on Block Island were killed that had nothing to do with the death of John Oldham, because all 14 of the Narragansetts, 12 of them were killed and 2 of them were in prison. So everybody that killed John Oldham were taken care of. Everybody. So they're just killing people just to be killing people. So the Wangunk, Sequin, and Wethersfield, right? So we're at the attack of Wethersfield, and then they're going to declare war May 1st, 1637. There was the siege of Fort Saybrook, and then the attack on Wethersfield. That's when the straw broke the camel's back. And there's one more thing. That's where we're at. So July 20th, 1636, when John Oldham got killed, that was a year ago. That was in 1636. That was ancient history. He was killed by some of the natives that was on Manassas Island, Block Island, and all of them were taken care of. It was all bullshit. So far, there's no good reason. Now, after Endicott starts killing a bunch of Pequot, because the Narragansett killed all the people, all of John Oldham and his crew. So where are we at? The siege of Saybrook happened, which killed a couple people. Then the Wethersfield invasion, the first time women were killed. Sequin, the Wangunks, invaded. Today identify as being of the Wangunk ancestry and strive to carry on cultural traditions. So of these, the Mattabesset or the Mattabesic was the name most associated with the Wangunk by the English, corresponding with Middletown. Other villages including Pocasset, Portland, Cockaponet, Haddam, Coginchong, Kananacock. Oh, Kananacock. Where are you going, Kananacock? Markomotus. So there's 3 major settlements in present-day Portland, Middletown, Wethersfield. There are also used to have land in Middlesex and Hartford counties. So the federal government in the state of Connecticut does not recognize the Wangunks, even though the people themselves recognize themselves. Confusion with Sequin. So Sequin was a title. Sequin, Sowheage. So Sowheage. Sowheage. Sowheage was the sachem of the Wangunk Mattabesics and the Connecticut River Indians in the 1600s. His wife, or one of them, may have been from an influential Quinnipiac family, as their son Montouise claimed the northern part of the Quinnipiac territory in 1638, 1 year after the Mystic River, 1 year after the Pequot War, as a lucrative fur trade. Okay, so who are these people, and why am I telling you about this? They thought he was Sequin, but he's actually Sowheage. Sequin is a title. So the chief sachem, Sowheage, agreed to English settlement at Pequot, okay, because 1631 he goes to the Boston, to the Massachusetts Bay Corporation. He's like, hey man, why don't y'all come settle amongst our people? And so he agreed to English settlement at Pequot, which would become Wethersfield, Connecticut. So he's living in Wethersfield already. Angered with the breach of several of the contractual obligations of the colonists, he encouraged an attack on the town of Wethersfield, April 23rd, 1637, a factor that contributed to the outbreak of the Pequot War. After the hostilities ended, he retained unsettled relations with the British. At the death, he died. 1849 is when the sequin of the Wangunk, Sohiaj is going to die, 1649, but he's survived by his sons Pequot, Taramugus, Montawisi, and his daughter Sepimama, Sepimamas, as well as several others. There's Wek, Pistic, and there's Wee Sumptua, Spunno, Sakamis, Tecumseh, Pishamnas, Pakaka, Ratioskis, and Pewampskine. Hey, Pewampskine, get your hands out of that butter. So, after the attack on Wethersfield by the So I think we're about caught up, right? Johnstone is killed by the Western Neantics. So the Dutch and the British were like, kill the Pequot. Then John Oldham was killed by the Menissus. And again, the British and the Dutch. Kill the Pequot. Pequot were part of the siege of Saybrook, but that was after John Endicott just started killing the Pequot. And then the attack on Wethersfield was an attack by Sequin, the Wangunk of Sohiaj. So the Wangunks, the Wogunks, I like Wogunk a lot. They killed people in Wethersfield, so Wethersfield says, let's kill some people. May 1st, 1637, the Connecticut colony declares war against the Pequot. So they elect John Mason. John Mason orders 90 men from the Connecticut colonies to go fight. So this is the General Court at Hartford. You got Wethersfield, you got Hartford, and you got Windsor. The Connecticut colony declared war against the Pequot. This is the first time that this is the first declared war in Connecticut between the natives and the British colonists. Then the Pequot War draws in the Narragansett, Neantic, Mohegan, Mohawk, the Sasquatch, and of course the Mongunks, and the Dutch, and the British. So the Bush Doctrine is preemptive strike. You got to strike them first. Wethersfield attack increased colonists feared that the Pequot were planning general war. Oh no! The Wogunks are attacking us. The Wogunks are attacking us. This must mean the Pequot are just right around the corner. The raid brought the total of racist British imperialist invaders dead to 30, which isn't that many, but that's 5% of the whole population. It's 5%. You know, like how the 30% was killed at Mystic Massacre? The racist British imperialist invaders became convinced that their very survival was at stake. They decided to strike first. That's the Bush Doctrine. But is it the Teddy Roosevelt Doctrine? 1637, the General Court at Hartford responded after the Wethersfield episode by raising a troop of 90 men commanded by Captain John Mason. Company, John Mason. John Mason joined the company headed by John Underhill, right? So John Mason, He gets 90 of the Connecticut colonies. John Underhill, he's the one who ran the militia for Plymouth and Massachusetts Bay Colony. And then 70 Mohegan warriors led by Uncas also joined the group. So everybody 16 to 60 years old was recruited, armed with 20 bullets and 2 pounds of powder per man. So none of the women, they didn't do shit. There's 3 women that got killed in Hartford, Wethersfield. That's the only moment women even come into this story. It said that 70 Mohegans, 19 men came from the fort at Saybrook. So John Mason and Fort Saybrook people and John Underhill. John Underhill led combined forces of Plymouth and Massachusetts Bay colonies. I saw the Plymouth colony, Plymouth Plantation, pretended like they didn't send anybody to Mystic Fort, which they may not have, but they sent more people 2 weeks later, so they were part of the Pequot War. Even if they weren't part of the one massacre, they were part of the Stonington Massacre, and then they would have been part of the Fairfield Swamp Massacre. But it says here, how heroic. John Mason soon broke the Pequot resistance in a decisive battle on the banks of the Mystic River. A decisive battle where they killed all the children. It was decisive. And if it wasn't for Miantanamo and the Mohegans, the Narragansett, and the British, but John Mason was only allowed to lead his Connecticut expedition against the Pequot natives through Narragansett country because Miantanamo pressured him to do so. Now, I like Roger Williams, and Roger Williams pressured Miantanamo, so maybe he just saw the winds. The Narragansett were the ones who killed John Oldham in 1636, a year before the Pequot War. So if the Narragansetts were the ones who killed John Oldham, why are we allying ourselves with the Narragansetts? Doesn't make any sense. And then the Pilgrims era for total warfare, scorched earth, war as hell, take no prisoners, kill them all. There's no crimes in war. There is no crimes in war, so all of the whole cast of characters, we're having a tipping point, a culture shift right now, where we need to change who we are and what we're doing. Charlie Rose, Louis C.K., and Harvey Weinstein, and then that Roy Moore. He's a fucking DA, 30 years old DA, and he finds the intelligence of a 14-year-old attractive. So there's no crimes in war. There's no crimes in war. Roy Moore would have got away with all his shit, which is weird. They kill Quakers for being Quaker, but they don't get killed for killing babies at Mystic River Massacre. War as hell, scorched earth campaign, total warfare. This happened way before you had the Civil War. Who is that guy? Sherman's March to the Sea. So there was, total warfare beforehand. Scorched earth, war as hell. There's no crimes in war. Take no prisoners. Kill anybody and everybody, including the children. Go after their families. And that, remember what our Fuhrer said, go after the families. So 25 days after the war declaration, the war is declared by the Connecticut colonies on May 1st, 1637. 25 days later, after the war declaration, they're killing all these children at the Mystic Fort. 2 hours before dawn, the Christian Protestants went in, the racist British imperialist invader, the separatist Puritans, the very, very pure Puritans, Johns, John Underhill, John Mason, Uncas, Miantanamo, Ninigret, and their people. They marched on the Pequot village at Mystic, slaughtering all but a handful of its inhabitants. John Mason of Windsor was ordered to conduct an offensive war, so really he didn't have a choice, right? He was ordered to do so. against the Pequot in retaliation for the Wethersfield raid, the Wethersfield raid was conducted by the Wogunks. So we're not even going after the Wogunks. We're basically letting all the people who do the crimes get away with it, but then they hate the Pequot. Summary, it doesn't matter what happened. They're blaming the Pequot for anything and everything. Oh my God, little Sally got a cold, must be the Pequot. Oh my God, your soup is cold, must be the Pequot. Oh my God, you, got a sunburn? You got a sunburn? Must be the Pequot. The most significant battles of the war then followed. So you had the Mystic Campaign, May 10th to the 26th. Then, killed all those kids in Expeditionary Force, 77 Connecticut soldiers and 250 natives. So the natives were right there with the British. And they're like, yes, British, we're on your side because we trade with you. The Pequot, on the other hand, trade with the Dutch. So 175 women and children were killed, approximately. And half of those are kids, so 100 kids. Only 30 kids died in that that Egyptian terrorist attack. 30 kids died, and here you have 100 kids who were killed in less than an hour. Half of them who were burnt to death. Less than an hour, half who were burnt to death. Stonington Massacre, June 5th, 1637. June 5th, Captain Mason attacked another Pequot village, this one near present-day Stonington, and massacred them again. July 28th, 1637, a Fairfield Massacre. A third attack and massacre occurred near present-day Fairfield, and that's about the time the Pequot War came to an end. Sassacus with 6 sachems, a few women, perhaps Sassacus's daughter, and a bodyguard of 20 warriors fled north up the Housatonic River, and west up the 10-Mile River into eastern New York with the intention of reaching Mohawk territory near Albany, New York, to enlist their aid against the racist British imperialist invaders. The Pequot were discovered by a contingent of Mohican or Mohegan. The primary sources are not entirely clear. Was it the Mohican or the Mohegan? Mohican, they sound very similar, but they are completely different tribes. The Mohican is the last of the Mohicans, but not the Mohegans. They are not the last of the fictional account of the Mohegans. So the Mohawk warriors near the Stone Church in Dover Plains, New York, they discover Sassacus. After a brief skirmish, Sassacus's group made their way to Paquange in late July, west of Danbury, Connecticut, where they were surprised in their wigwams by the Mohegan and the Mohawk, the Iroquois, the fucking Mohawk and Mohegan. This is Uncas's people. They used to be Pequot. The Mohegan used to be Pequot. Sassacus was killed immediately. A few Pequot managed to escape, but they were found and killed too. The Mohawks sent the Locks to Agawam, Springfield, and Hartford, reaching Boston August 5th, 1637, effectively ending all Pequot resistance. So, yeah, there it is. They killed Sassacus. They cut off a lock of his head. They put locks like this. So I don't know if they were talking about I heard it was their head. They chopped off his head and sent his head. And so that's not just a scalp. That's a whole head. August 1st, 1637, Israel Stoughton pursued refugee bands of the Pequot, and clearly they're at Block Island, which is an island they want to take over anyways, which that's weird how that happens, right? You're sitting on land we want to take. That's why we killed your children. So they sailed to Block Island with a small force to seek satisfaction. I have not got satisfaction from the Menissus. So Israel Stoughton and his men killed several Menissus, burned their wigwams down before the Menissus submitted to the racist British imperialist invaders' authority. Because why not? Sure, what the fuck, why not? We killed the Pequot, they're subdued, Sassacus is dead. And by the way, why don't we just go kill some of those Menissus in Block Island? Why are we doing that? Why not? Why wouldn't we do that? August 1st, 1637. So this is one of the last things at the end of the war. So August 5th is when the Boston receives the head of Sassacus. August 1st is when Israel Stoughton killed more people on Block Island, pulled a John Endicott, just killed some Menissus, a turkey shoot. Hey, you want to go to Block Island and just start shooting up some Menissus, burning their wig? We are at Thanksgiving. Thank God that we killed all the Pequot. So, that was August 1st, August 7th. Now we are at August 12th. August 12th is ordered to be a day of public thanksgiving to God for his great mercies in subduing the Pequot and for bringing the soldiers in safety, the success of the conference, and good news from Germany. Good news from Germany. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, and we killed here's the head of Sassacus. Here's the head of Sassacus. And we killed a bunch of Menissus just for the fuck of it. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. A day of Thanksgiving kept in all the churches for our victories against the Pequot and for the success of the assembly. What assembly? I don't know. What was the good news from Germany? I don't know. Your fathers will eat their sons among you, and the sons will eat their fathers, for I will execute judgments on you and scatter all your remnant to every wind. Ezekiel 5:10. So, what? Who gives a shit, right? So May 1st is when they declare the war. We're already in August and the war's over. So May, June, July, August. 3 months. This war lasted less than 3 months, right? Only the beginning of August. So May, June, I guess you count May, June, July. So 3 months. A 3-month war. And they exterminated, nearly wiped out the Pequot. By September 1638, after the Treaty of Hartford was ratified by the racist British imperialist invaders, Mohegan, Narragansett, on September 21st, 1638, that was when they ceased to exist as a tribe. Just a military engagement. This was cultural genocide. They want to wipe them out like Hamas wants to do to Israel. Wipe them off the map. They want to wipe the Pequot off the map. So I've heard 2 reports, 8,000, 2,000 Pequot were there. Remember, the Mohegans used to be Pequot, Mohegan, I don't know. So the Pequot River, you can't call it the Pequot River no more. You must call it the Thames. I want to say the Pequot Village was called New Haven. There was a Pequot Village. Hey, you want to go to Pequot? Hey, don't say Pequot, it's New Haven. Then 180 Pequot who gave up at the Fairfield Swamp Massacre were distributed to Narragansett and Mohegans. Both treated them badly, so the Connecticut colonists got them a reservation to live on. And that's where the current survivors came from, those reservations. So, in a weird way, thanks to the Narragansett and the Mohegans' cruelty, I don't like saying it like that because the Narragansett and Mohegans killed lots of Pequot. So, but essentially, that's what happened. So, if none of this happened, they'd still be alive. So I can't say thanks for the shitty treatment, but that's where they came from. The Narragansett and the Mohegans were given Pequot to assimilate into their tribes, but they just killed a whole bunch of them. They had no rights. They treated them like slaves, and they treated them so shitty that eventually the Connecticut colonists were like, all right, you can't do that. So there was 2,000 Pequot in the 1600s. There's less than 2,000 Pequot living today there at those east and west reservations. So 1,900 is less than 2,000. Pueblo has got a population of 107,000. 2,000 is less than 2% of Pueblo, Colorado. That's where all the Pequot who are left today in the universe, less than 2% of the population of Pueblo, Colorado. Miantanamo is killed by Uncas's brother. So Miantanamo, Uncas, they are some treacherous motherfuckers because I think they both are for a general Native American invasion, but because they keep on allying with no, I'm the British's favorite. No, I'm the British's favorite. So Miantanamo is taken back to Norwich, where he had been defeated and killed with a tomahawk by Wawequa, the brother of Uncas. Wawequa killed Miantanamo. His son, Kenashet, was a Narragansett Sachem, a daughter, Minnetinka. Oh, Minnetinka. was raised and educated by a Dutch family after her mother died and her father, Miantanamo, was killed by the Mohicans, the Mohegans. The Mohegans. She married John Corey with her. Minnetinka married John Corey with her Christian name being Elizabeth Gessett. One of her famous descendants is the rodeo pioneer and the cowboy artist Earl W. Bascom. Minnetinka of the Turtle Clan, daughter of the chief Miantanamo of the Narragansett Indian tribe. Old Minnetinka of the Turtles. Turtle power. 1623, Governor William Bradford of the Plymouth Colony called for a day of solemn prayer to seek God's mercy to end a drought. When they received rain, he proclaimed a day of thanksgiving in the summer of 1623. The hands of compassionate women boiled their own children. They became food for them because of the destruction of the daughter of my people. Lamentations 4:10. There's a Sohiog. There's a man, a greater sachem at Metabasit named Sohiag, and he's the one that's over the Sequin at Pequot. But actually, they're the same guy. They're the same man. So they're spoken of as two different people. The one being called Sassoon or Sequasin, Sachem of Sequog, Hartford. The other Sohiag or Sequin, Sachem of Matabasic, Middletown. Oh, Sequin, oh, Sohiag, Soheage. Sohiage, the Sequin at Pequot is also Sohiage at Metabasit. Sohiage is a mogunk. There's actually, Miantanamo was going to start a general insurrection. Mr. Ludlow found out about it at Uncoa, which is now Fairfield, by one of the neighboring sachems. A true relation of a conspiracy of Miantanamo, the great sachem of the Narragansetts, Sohiage or Sequin, the sachem of Matabasic, and Sassoon or Sequasin, the sachem of Sequog, for destruction of the English and generally throughout New England, has been discovered by a sachem living near Mr. Ludlow, another Indian of Long Island, to Mr. Eaton of New Haven, and another Indian in the river of Connecticut. Witches and witchcraft. The first person killed by the Pilgrims for being a witch was Alice. Alice Young. Alice Young was killed for being a witch. May 1st, war is declared, and then August 12th, the Thanksgiving is declared for all them being dead. 3 months' time, Pequot War's over, quick, easy, painless, no problem whatsoever. So that happened in 1637. Fast forward 5 years, we're at 1642. And this is going to be right before Keith's War and then all those atrocities committed by Underhill. But Connecticut went ahead and passed a law saying if you're a witch, then that means you could be put to death. You could be put to death for being a witch. 1642. So Alice Young was hanged at the Meeting House in Hartford on what is now the site of the old State House. A journal of Massachusetts Governor John Winthrop states one of Windsor was hanged. Very breezy, right? Well, one of Windsor was hanged. Witches. So, once they killed the Pequot, then everybody just, I guess, turned to witchcraft. I don't know. I mean, they killed the savages. So I don't know why they're embracing the savagery of, the pagan Wiccans. Why are they going to be a bunch of Wiccans? Or are they actual witches? Like they can fly around in brooms? Do they have actual magical powers? They're like sorcerers? No. If the devil got in them, that made them a witch. So Connecticut may not have experienced the same level of hysteria as Salem. So Alice Young was not the last person. Mary Johnson of Wethersfield was executed in 1648 after confessed entering into a contract with the devil. She sold her soul to the devil, so, that's wasn't coerced. Joan and John Carrington of Wethersfield were executed in 1651. Rebecca and Nathaniel Greensmith, Mary Barnes were found guilty. In Hartford, January 25th, 1663, Rebecca and Nathaniel Greensmith and Mary Barnes, all three of them, guilty of witchcraft. It wasn't because they exiled them and alienated them and pointed and laughing at them until they fucking lost their minds. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. You're judging me. We're all the same, but here you're judging, and then you're making me go crazy. It's like, oh, the devil's got him. Ann Cole had accused Rebecca Greensmith of making her have strange fits. She's making me have these fits. It's her fault. She did this, and I was like, ah! Witchcraft was last listed as a capital crime in 1715, so it took a while for the Pilgrims to learn to not murder each other and Native Americans. Really, it was all about just killing anybody and everybody. Just if they looked at you wrong, had the wrong religion. In Minnetonka, when her father was killed, when her mother was killed, when her son was killed, when everybody was killed, did she stop Minnetonka, the Turtle Clan? She didn't stop. She's the daughter of Miantanamo. Minnetonka will never stop. So what's going on? We got a war in the streets, war in the Middle East. There's no war on poverty, but they got a war on drugs so the police can bother me. War is still going on. There's homeless in all the major cities. There was no turkey at that stupid-ass 1621 feast, which there was no official Thanksgiving. No, it wasn't declared. It was a shakedown, roasted joint of venison. It would be interesting to see what the natives would have done with each and every part of the deer, of the white-tailed deer. Parts of the deer were on the table, and who knows how many sorts of way. So that's the 1621 feast is the imagery. The way I understand it, Abraham Lincoln declares Thanksgiving. Sarah Josepha Hale brings the imagery of the 1621 feast into Thanksgiving, even though it wasn't an official Thanksgiving. So really, what we celebrate today isn't what the Pilgrims actually did. It's the way Sarah Josepha Hale interpreted a little paragraph. There's only two primary source documents, and there's actually only one primary source document of the actual event, and it's like 2 or 3 sentences long. So, when I break your staff of bread, 10 women will bake your bread in one oven, and they will bring back your bread in rationed amounts, so that you will eat and not be satisfied. Yet if in spite of this you do not obey me, but act with hostility against me, then in my anger I will be hostile, and I myself will punish you for your sins 7 times over, and ye shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. Leviticus 26, 28 to 29. Leviticus. So, the Pilgrims, William Bradford, were practicing their arms, just shooting their guns off, probably trying to scare the shit out of everybody. But let's assume they're practicing their gunfire like they say. Chief Massasoit thought there was an invasion. He thought there was a battle, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? And so he came to the site, and he was like, okay, there's some bullshit happening right now. So lots of gunfire was coming from the Pilgrim village, and Massasoit thought he was being attacked. So he shows up with 90 Wampanoags, which is twice the amount of Pilgrims, essentially being like, so what's up, man? What's up? Why are you shooting all these guns? Invited to join the Pilgrims in their feast, but there wasn't enough food to feed the chief and his 90 warriors. Then Massasoit sends his men out, and they bring back 5 deer, which they present to the chief of the English town, William Bradford. So that's what happened, right? The English are shooting their fucking guns. Why are you shooting those guns? Oh, by the way, we'll let you stay here if you want to be our military and political ally. We'll be best friends. All right, fine, we'll be best friends. There's twice as many of you all as there is of us. You just descended upon us. We're scared to death. Sure, we'll go ahead and accept you to be our buddies. Okay, Master Soet. Okay, Wampanoag. Okay, Tisquantum Divine Rage. We'll be your friend. So, let's end it off with a description of John Underhill's slaughter. This is David Peter Zune. Infants were torn from their mother's breast and hacked to pieces in the presence of their parents, and pieces thrown into the fire and in the water, and other sucklings, being bound to small boards, were cut, stuck, and pierced, and miserably massacred in a manner to move a heart of stone. Some were thrown into the river, and when the fathers and mothers endeavored to save time, or to save them, the soldiers would not let them come on land, but made both parents and children drown. So the mothers and the fathers tried to save the children, the babies, that John Underhill, the pilgrim, was thrown into the river. They would stick babies while they're on the ground. They would just stick them, pierce them, massacre like they weren't shit. Nits make lice. You got to wipe the Pequot off the face of the earth. Wipe them out. The last thing, but it's not. What we can do, and why protest against plants? We all like Nixon, we're going to hate marijuana. Hemp was, I think, indigenous to this continent, but definitely tomatoes, definitely potatoes, sweet potatoes, crab apples. So we should plant that which is indigenous. I was thinking eating the indigenous plants would be something, but no. Instead of destroying, instead of devouring, instead of just taking everything for ourselves, why don't we give back? So corn was here. That's a major staple. Wild rice, chili peppers, hot peppers, green bell peppers. Let's raise these. Let's plant some pecan trees and some chocolate trees, the cocoa tree and the vanilla bean and the vanilla trees. Let's plant these things. Tobacco is here too. Avocados, zucchini, berries, nuts, squash, sunflowers, cranberries, chia, maple trees. Let's plant some maple trees. Some pumpkins for the pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin pie. Plant some passion fruit. Passion fruit's a vine species of passion flower that is native to southern Brazil through Paraguay to northern Argentina. Oak acorns. Plant some oak trees. Plant some pecan trees. Plant some cocoa trees. Plant some pineapple trees. Plant some papaya. You know what papaya is? Well, you can plant it and you can make some papaya. Corn, you can make corn dogs. Chili peppers, pecans, chocolate, tobacco. Tobacco used to be, it was used as a vaccination for the Ebola virus. So thanks, tobacco, for curing Ebola. Cranberries, sunflowers, chia, maple trees, pecans, pumpkins, potatoes. October 1635, the General Court tried Roger Williams and they convicted him of sedition and heresy. They declared that Roger Williams was spreading diverse, new, and dangerous opinions. He's got diverse and new ideas. Get him the hell out of here. So Roger Williams was ordered to be banished. The execution of the order was delayed because Roger Williams was ill and winter was approaching. So they let him stay temporarily as long as he ceased his agitation, but he couldn't stop himself. He was just pissed off all the time, so don't you agitate. Well, don't talk to me because I'm agitated. And so the sheriff came in January 1636 to probably chop off his head, right, for being a witch. But Roger Williams had slipped away 3 days earlier during the blizzard. He traveled 55 miles through the deep snow of hard was approaching. So they said, Roger, you could stay if you want. But he went 55 miles through the deep snow of a hard winter through a blizzard from Salem to present-day Raynham, Massachusetts, where the local Wampanoags offered him shelter at their winter camp. Their chief, Sachem Massasoit, hosted Williams for the 3 months until spring. So Massasoit, okay, I'm liking you more and more, Massasoit. Massasoit, the Wampanoags at Raynham, Massachusetts, protected them for 3 months until spring. So Roger Williams, could have fucking got killed. Roger Williams liked the Native Americans. He was against slavery, so he was for abolition. He believed in the separation of church and state. He actually had a really good quote about the wilderness. Hutchinson is known to be a Christian feminist. She spoke up. She had 13 kids and maybe some more. But when she was killed, they did not give a shit. They did not care about what happened to her. They said, let her damned heresies and the just vengeance of God by which she perished terrify all her seduced followers from having any more to do with her leaving. So Anne Hutchinson thought of Christianity differently than how they thought of Christianity, so they banished her from the colony. Then she gets killed by a bunch of Native Americans, and they're like, fuck her. This is John Winthrop. This is Reverend Thomas Weld, Peter Bulkley. Reverend Thomas Weld, he says, the Lord heard our groans to heaven and freed us from our great and sore affliction. I never heard that the Indians in those parts did ever before this commit the like outrage upon any one family or families. The Siwanoy warriors stampeded into a tiny settlement above Pelham Bay, prepared to burn down the houses. They sent a warning, and they expected no settlers to be there. But at one house, the men in animal skins encountered several children, men, women, and a woman past middle age. One Siwanoy indicated that the Ann Hutchinsons should restrain the family's dogs without apparent fear. One of the family tied up the dogs. As quickly as possible, the Siwanoy seized and scalped Francis Hutchinson, William Collins, several servants, and 2 Anns, the mother and daughter. Younger children, William, Catherine, Mary, and Zuriel. As the story was later recounted in Boston, one of Hutchinson's daughters seeking to escape was caught as she was getting over a hedge, and they drew her head back again by the hair of the head to the stump of a tree, cut off her head with would take the breast off of dead Indian women's bodies and play catch with them on bayonets. There's photos that show the U.S. Army doing this, stepping on little babies frozen in the snow, throwing them around, just having a good old time, right, with the carcasses of the dead. So that's a little bit about the Wampage. I think the Wampage Siwani, Chief Wampage, is the one that killed Ann Hutchinson. Then he takes the name Ann Hutchinson. I think he says his name's Ann Hook, because that's what he thought Ann Hutchinson was. But they didn't give a shit, right? John Winthrop and all the Pilgrims and the Christians were like, well, she thought differently than us, so clearly God, because we're Calvinists, so that we believe in predetermination. So she was killed by the natives for this purpose exactly. So Jews and Catholics were allowed to worship in New Netherlands. They also had low rates on shipping, free market, laissez-faire, casino-style capitalism, the Hanseatic League, right, the Dutch, New Netherlands. But Jews and Catholics were allowed to be there, even though they were mostly Protestants. John Winthrop says, Ann Hutchinson, get off the hill. Get off the city on a hill. Works have nothing to do with heaven. Only God's grace is needed. Ann Hutchinson got into trouble for having Bible studies in her house. She was a woman. She was charismatic. She herself could see the elect. There was only certain people who were going to go to heaven, and Ann Hutchinson could see it. She believed in a grace-based salvation, not a works-based salvation. So then Anne goes to live out in the wilderness. Her followers follow her. And she lives in Split Rock, Bronx at New Netherland and goes out in the woods. Her followers follow her out in the woods. The 13 kids, she's massacred by Native Americans, 1643. So a lot of shit was going on. A lot of crazy shit to these pilgrims, right? If they weren't killing Native Americans, such as the Kiteki or the Kitchewink or the Wappinger or Manhattan Rockaway Teke, Siwanoi Metabasic Hackensack, the Kitchewink, Merrick, Siwanoi, Wappinger, Manhattan, Canarsie, Rockaway. When they weren't killing and exterminating Native Americans, they were killing witches. White female witches who've been inflicted with the devil and need to be hung. Only death could teach